So how do you explain to students in your school the importance of fair trade and to get them interested in joining your group and talking about the mission that you're on?
We just kind of talk about our club and like what we're doing, why like we just talk about why we're interested in it, because like that kind of convinces people to also be interested in it. And then we bribe them with food.
That
And
always helps. Free food.
Yes.
Definitely. What kind of campaign are you on this spring?
So we actually are working on like becoming a fair trade school. So we like just became like a fair trade school. So we're doing like
Mhm.
press release kind of. Jumari, if you like want to add anything to any of this, you can. But we just did
Amazing.
that. So we're like meeting with our principal and just like doing stuff with that right now, mostly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, you need to send us the press release, so we'll share that. And then we have Leo's event and tickets for the TEDx in Newton. We'll share that. Um, so I'm familiar with the Fair Trade University campaign. How is it very similar for high schools, the same sort of criteria?
I don't know too much about the Fair Trade University one, but for the school one, I think it's more simplified. I think you only need like fair trade education and events and then like sourcing fair trade products. I think since we go to public school, it's a little bit harder because like they give everyone lunch for free at my school. So then like the supply issues are a little bit more complicated than like at a university because it's private. But I think it's definitely a similar structure.
Wow. Well, does your school know that you're sitting on the Student Advisory Council for Cirilla, a fair trade certified brand?
I don't think so.
That could give you extra points, I think. So congratulations. How many fair trade high schools are there in the country?
I don't know how many there are in the country, but I think there's 9 in California, right, Jumari? Yeah, okay.
Okay. Jumari, what else are you involved in at school? What do you enjoy?
Right now, my main thing is really just keeping up with fair trade, especially since we are like a fair trade school now. Like as Sarah said, we've been doing press release, and also we did a segment with our school's TV. And then like my friends were asking me about that, asking what it meant to be fair trade. And I think that's kind of what we're working with right now, like letting people know that just because we're a fair trade school, it's not even a huge thing that like we have to accomplish to get there. It's really just spreading fair trade like education. And I
Mhm.
think that's like a huge misconception that people have. It's like, oh, we're fair trade. What does that actually mean? And that just
Mhm.
means like to support it and then like to continue the message. So I think that's
Mhm.
the main thing we've been working on.
Yeah. Do you all write your own press releases?
The most recent one we had, we got an interview with a writer that has like worked with us before from the Del Mar Times. So other than that, though, we've been trying to email other newspapers.
Nice. That's amazing. Well, if you need any, we have a running press list too. Like if you ever want to tap into our press list, if you're trying to get something out there, same for you, Leo, or anyone on the call. Like if you're campaigning for something and you have a specific topic, we can pull up our list and see if we have people that might be interested in covering your story in that category. As you know, it's important to reach out to writers who specifically cover that topic and they're really interested in that. So it's a very broad, it's important to like niche down as much as you can so you catch their attention. Thomas, it looks like you're in the car now. Are you headed to your hotel or your friend's house? Maybe his service is patchy. Thanks for joining, Julia. Julia, do you want to jump in on, we were touching base earlier today, and we had some ideas on how to get the meeting started today.
Yeah. So earlier today, Sarah and I were kind of discussing a few different things, and I think one of the most important ones that we thought would be a good topic of conversation was kind of around social media and how your ways that you're able to kind of filter out the negativity or like anything that would cause you stress. Because I know that with the growing popularity of social media, especially within businesses and advertising, it's kind of hard to just remove yourself from it entirely. So we wanted to hear different ways that you guys or people that you know are able to kind of, you know, separate the negative information that you see online from what kind of content you actually do want to see. And I think that's kind of where we wanted to start the conversation.
Yeah, that's great. And we understand if some of you have chosen not to be on social media at all, totally respect that. It just seems like everywhere you look, there's a new app or, you know, a new platform. And I know sometimes, especially if we're building campaigns or businesses, like it is important to have a presence on those platforms. And so, like Julia said, finding balance and choosing like how to filter out the negativity so that we can stay grounded and take care of ourselves. Who wants to jump in? Leo, I know you're on LinkedIn pretty regularly for TEDx anyway. I don't know what other platforms you're on, but how does that work out for you? Do you have any methods of utilizing it to benefit your cause and then, you know, letting go of what doesn't work?
Yeah, sure. So I don't really post a lot about TEDx anymore because we do have a marketing team behind that to do that. But for me personally,
Congrats.
for like LinkedIn and stuff like that, recently I bought the LinkedIn premium stuff, which is pretty cool. But
Okay.
I gave it up because it's really not that useful except to give you a badge. That's looking really cool, but that's all. But yeah, other than that, I guess Instagram. I just post what I want to post without any methods, but I guess that's the reason why I'm not getting like a lot of likes or follows. So I tried to be a publicist for LinkedIn for a month, really working well. But we gave it up. We canceled the contract because I wasn't too sure if too much attention to me is that good. Because currently to do is to build my basketball club into a national network of basketball, which I should hire him for that reason. So we're restarting right now. I'll let you know how that goes with what methods he used and everything. But he posts like five or six posts a day, so that's a lot of content. So I guess one of those posts might be boosted by LinkedIn or not. So you never know about that. But for Instagram, I'm really not sure because me personally, I'm really not like getting a lot of likes or follows on that platform. So somebody else might be a better, person to answer that.
But how does that feel? I mean, because I know I just started a YouTube channel recently and I've been spending a good amount of time. Like I just edited a video and posted it today. I'm excited about, and I know there's part of me that expects and really wants just like it to blow up, like a ton of people to look at it and watch it and all the algorithms to catch it. And so, I mean, how are you able to look at your posts and, like you said, there's not a lot of likes or comments or follows, but are you able to just see that for what it is and not take it as as a reflection of you or the value of what you're posting?
Well, the thing is that when a social media doesn't work, for example, Instagram, like when a post doesn't work, it's not getting like a lot of likes and everything, which, for example, last time I posted about my basketball tryouts selection, it really wasn't blowing up. So what I did is I spent a lot of money on marketing, just, advertisement on it on Instagram. So I guess at the end, we got over 100 signups. That's impressive. That's very impressive. So like I'm telling you, like I think if the organic content isn't working, it doesn't really mean that the content is not valuable. It just probably means that people are posting different things than you. And I don't think people are that interested in searching about what fair trade is or what this, that is. So if you just want to get into their eyesight first, I would suggest spending some money on marketing. It's either a lot of money or not spend it at all. Because I try to spend like little money, like $5 per week, $5 per week on $10 per week. It's really not working. It's just they taking your money without doing anything. But the thing that you can see how many people tapped, but tapping really isn't that effective because people just tap on the website and leave sometimes. So that's really not what we want to sign up, or we want some bookings or some purchases on the website, for example, if Cirilla want to do it. So I think not just looking at social media's reflection, but actually looking at the websites, Shopify websites reflection and how many are sold. That's important.
Yeah, 100 signups that's it. That sounds like a great return. And important that that you did that for a very specific call to action. And you got a return on that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Sarah, I know you don't use social, right?
Yeah, I don't use it. I mean, it's kind of hard not to use like any. So like I have a LinkedIn because like one time I was doing this internship, so I had to like set one up, but
Mhm.
mostly not that much. I think also just adding on to what Leo said, something that helps me is just like distancing myself like from it. So I do this thing where like I take one day out of the week where I just like don't do any screens, and that just really helps me like take a break from it, and like I'll just like read a book or something, and it's just really nice to have that break from like technology. And something else I try and do is if I'm like working in a team or something and like we need to do social media, I'll like ask someone else to do it. Like I'm taking a business class at my school right now and we're like running our own business, so I have like some of my friends like do TikTok and Instagram and all of that, and they're honestly much better at it than me, but it just enables me to not like be as much part of it. I think another thing that like I've noticed just with social media is just you kind of just have to like not think about it so much, you know. Like I think a lot of times like if I were to post something, I'd think like, oh, like how's it gonna cause this the reaction or another one, right? But you kind of just have to think like just really simplistic and just kind of stupid and funny, because like that's what people are looking for. They're not looking for like something like related to school, right? Like um we were doing this thing with like this like hair clip product, and some of my friends just went up to this guy and like asked him to wear it like in a TikTok, and then it like did pretty well on TikTok. So like that was fun. It's just like something super random and silly, you know, but it's just like kind of taking life a little bit less seriously and just having fun with it, I think, is also what helps things like get attention and traction.
That's such a good point. Yeah, people are going there for entertainment and just to decompress and be distracted from the seriousness of life in a lot of cases. So that's a great point. And it sounds like both of you have in common, you're already learning the importance of delegating and hiring or bringing people in to do things that, number one, maybe you don't want to do or you've recognized isn't your strength. And in Leo's case, to even spend the money to do that and it'll return. So congratulations.
It's worth it. I mean, like it's just a matter of how much money you want to put in, like the customer acquisition cost. If it's too high, you're gonna end up with a loss, right? But like it really matters on what your final goal is. For me, this season, my final goal is not to make a lot of money or not or even take a loss, because we want to get the words out there that Super Meteors Corporation exists in Massachusetts, so we can compete. We can compete with the other big organizations around the Massachusetts, maybe like region, or maybe in Newton, or maybe somewhere else. But basically, what it is that the more money you spend, the more people will see it. Whether or not they like it, it's really reflected on the thing that you're trying to do, your final goal. It really doesn't matter what Instagram tells you. Sometimes it's really not that accurate. So that's what I mean, right? If you don't know how to do it, hire somebody to do it for a cheap price on Fiverr or Upwork. It's pretty cheap. You can just hire some talents over there, so they can handle their social media account for you. But one thing to like really be careful is that sometimes they steal your information for the accounts. So I was
Yeah, be careful.
getting
It's
that verification from that, so which is pretty
there's a lot of, I've tried using, it's a lot of people to screen. It takes a lot of time to find the right person. So yeah, if you have recommendations, we should create like a small database of like preferred providers internally that we all recommend, because that would save folks a lot of time as well.
Yeah, or you can just hire like an intern for the marketing department, which she or he knows stuff, which I guess that will be more trustworthy than hiring somebody on the internet that you don't know anything about. So maybe that's a better option.
Leo, where did you learn these things?
I mean, currently been hiring, and we just incorporated in Wyoming, so I guess that's why.
No, where did you first start learning about these business topics?
I mean, since we incorporated, I guess I just have to be forced to learn these things, because sometimes, we might take a loss if we just don't move forward, because not moving forward is basically, not improving. And people, our competitors, will definitely, just be there and basically take all our clients, right? So we have a board of directors, like this, something like that, but like with adults with great experience in marketing and sports administration to actually, write reports on what our competitors are doing and what we can do better to, I don't know, like to get their customers, I guess, if that's an unethical way to do it. And we're also building a franchise. We want people to franchise with us, which is more importantly, this is my current goal right now. So when it comes to that, marketing is super important because like McDonald's, like Chick-fil-A, whatever they do central marketing. So marketing is one of the biggest important, like most important thing that they focus on because you need to be well known so people can franchise with you and people can put their trust in you. So I guess that's how I was first to learn all the marketing techniques, hire people as something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like Julia and I were talking today on this topic about also knowing what your resources are. And we were talking more in the context of when anxiety comes up, let's just keep it in context around school, or like, because it will come up, to know, what are the resources you have to turn to. And some of that is building your network. And you're talking more about like the business resources, Leo, but in general, I think the more resources and people we have in our network to help, even when it comes to business or schoolwork, like that can also help prevent anxiety because we feel supported and it's part of our extended community. Do you want to expand upon that, Julia?
Sure. I think we're kind of exploring different ways to, manage anxiety and figure out ways, either if you're in college or at a high school, what resources they do offer you that actually can benefit you and aren't just kind of filler solutions. At least for me at my university, there's a counseling center that provides I think you get 12 free sessions per semester or year or something like that. And which is a great deal for, how expensive therapy usually is. And even though it's not something that's going to continue with you after school, it's a nice resource to just have to check in on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. That's definitely the resource I've utilized the most in college. I haven't really needed to kind of go outside of that, but we were just kind of discussing and wondering at your high schools or middle schools or universities what options they provide and what you found helpful, if you've used any or not.
Also, just on that piece. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
go ahead, Sarah.
No, you go ahead.
Um,
You can go.
I was going to say that I don't know if any of you guys have noticed this, but I feel like since we've all come to terms with the fact that Instagram is bad for us, it feels like maybe there's this pressure now on people to be like, Instagram's bad, therefore I shouldn't care about the way it makes me feel. But it seems to me that we need to, talking about support networks, be going in the opposite direction of acknowledging that it's having a big impact on people, and instead of trying to convince ourselves that it isn't a big deal, except that social things to teenagers are a big deal, and this is now a significant part of that we need a more active approach to manage. I don't know if anybody else relates to that kind of experience.
I definitely do. I think especially this is kind of what we mentioned earlier, but at least for me, I feel like Instagram and social media is just becoming more intertwined with business and professionalism. And it's not something that's only a personal choice for pleasure that you can just kind of hop on after school. I think every day, everyone is more and more consumed with social media. And I think it's becoming harder and harder to kind of filter out the information that doesn't make you feel as good. And I think it's kind of hard to navigate where to go. Oh, this doesn't make me feel good. What do I do about it? Is there a way I can even get that off my feed or kind of not see that type of information anymore? But I think it's such an unknown topic right now because our generation is the first to use it as much as we do. So it's hard not to be able to seek an adult's advice or anyone to kind of help us navigate this.
No, completely. And something I recently tried to make the switch away from Instagram and onto Twitter, which for me I see as a more newsy type of social media. But it's interesting that I think an older generation, to them, Twitter's more of their social media because they never really got into the Instagram thing. So it's just kind of funny seeing how different generations relate to different apps.
Sarah, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I can add something. I think personally for me, something that I do is like I meditate on a regular basis, and that really helps me just like if I'm on any social media or just with anxiety in general, just because I don't know, I feel like a lot of times when you go on social media, you just keep scrolling and you're kind of like almost distracting yourself from some kind of problem that you have. At least that's what I have done sometimes. But I think that sometimes like when I've learned to meditate and just kind of like sit with the feelings that are uncomfortable and just like learn more about that and kind of just, I know it sounds funny, but just like be present like with any kind of problem you're having instead of just wanting it to go away through kind of a site or anything like that. That's one way that I separate myself from it. Like if I'm on some kind of app or something and I'm seeing some kind of content that I don't like, I can just kind of come back to where I am and like whatever's going on around me and like have the ability to take off my phone or close my computer if like it's overwhelming. And that's something that's really helped me as well.
That's a really good tip, Sarah. And it's this idea that we need to go through something to get through it and not avoid, and just to have that awareness before I log. And that's why I like having my notifications off for social, because then I have no choice. I'm just reacting. But if I'm actually intentionally have to open it up or even log in, it's like I have that minute to get grounded and check in with my intention and just my state of mind at that time. It feels much more, I guess, balanced to actually be making a choice and not just looking at what's coming in my feed on my phone.
Yeah, definitely.
And then if I'm trying to just distract or avoid something that's really uncomfortable in my life or in my day, and I'm looking at it as an outlet, like that's okay too, but to notice and be aware, like this is what's going on with me.
Yeah, exactly. And something I also try and do is just like recognize that like I'm the person in control. Like sometimes if you're like kind of being a victim of your devices and like you just feel like you can't stop like looking at something, it's just good to remind yourself that like, I don't know, you have more choices than like your device thinks you do. That doesn't make any sense, but it's like you're like scrolling and it's like the device is like just addicting and it wants you to keep going, but just by coming back to yourself and saying, reminding yourself that like, hey, I have the choice to turn this off right now. It can help you.
That's such a good line. Am I a victim of my device? Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And Thomas, I really appreciate the comment about the different generational choices too. That makes a lot of sense. And it's helpful for us. It's almost ironic that, I'm coming from a place of like really valuing and respecting mental health and recovery from addiction and not falling into addictive patterns. And at the same time, we're building a brand. And as Leo stated, like marketing is everything. I mean, we get to, as long as we've got the product, the distribution, all that is set up. And then the next big thing is marketing. And part of that is advertising. And as you guys hopefully know, our intention is to do it rather than in its attraction, not promotion. And that's why we're working on building a community organically and letting people know, like, this is what we are, this is what we stand for, trying to get in front of as many people as we can and offering it, trying to get as many people to taste it and sample it. And if you love it, definitely we'll let you know how to buy it. But not being really aggressive or manipulative in our techniques. And I think there's a big difference there as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's a good idea to just turn off notification when you just can't stop looking at something, because Instagram does a thing when somebody liked your post or when somebody posts that, they send you like a notification that's saying this guy liked it. So what I did last time was that since the post was kind of blowing up, I just turned off the notification because it was blowing up my phone. That's what happened. So I really recommend doing that. Like if you don't want to get distracted all the time, being hey, another post, another, another like, another follow, whatever. Or if you're a business, I would suggest using Instagram on desktop so you can respond to messages that people send to you on Instagram all the time. Sometimes I ignore them on my phone because they have to request it first and it will get through. But if you don't approve the request, you never see it. So I guess that's how I missed a lot of clients last season, which is pretty bad, right? So yeah, the request, the message thing is important. I like that. Like if you have like a place that people can, talk about, like this whole community stuff, and they can ask about how to join without leaving the platform on Instagram, you can just tell them that message us or DM us. We'll respond to you as soon as possible. So they don't have to call you, they don't have to email you because they just want to do everything on a platform, right? So that's better, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Adding
those
on.
go
You go.
ahead. Good suggestions.
Just going off really quick what Leo said, I think that I've found that when my notifications for Instagram or Snapchat or anything are off, I check it way less frequently. And the reason that I'm on social media all the time is just because I'm getting these like little notifications that pop up on my phone when I'm kind of bored, and then I just go down a rabbit hole. And I really do notice a significant difference of how much I willingly just open the app for my own desire, even without seeing the notifications, is significantly less than when I have notifications every.
Yeah, and just that's really good, Julia. And just adding on to that, something I like to do is keep my phone in black and white. So like I don't have any colors on my phone. I know it sounds a little bit unusual, but I just keep all the apps, all my texts and everything just in like a black and white palette. And I find that that's like much less addicting than like having the colors. Because like something I noticed when I was like experimenting with this was like the colors on your phone are like a little bit more vibrant than like pale colors, and it's kind of draws you in a little bit more. So I've been doing this for like a while now, and it's honestly helped me spend so much less time on my phone. And like everyone's talking about notifications, so like when I get a notification, it's just not as like addicting to want to open it. I don't have Instagram or Snapchat or anything, so like I just keep that away. But I think that the black and white thing really helps me to like manage it in a better way.
Yeah, for me, I try to just keep my phone in another room because as Julia mentioned, a lot of the times I'm on my phone is just because it's there and like I have that availability, because a lot of the times I just go on my phone because I'm bored, which I think is more harmful because like the short dopamine release of like seeing all the colors or just like falling into a rabbit hole of whatever you find on TikTok or Instagram. It doesn't actually help me like stop being bored. I think in general, like going into social media, going on your phone, you have to do it with an intention or a purpose, because then like there's so many niche communities. You can just distract yourself from what you're actually on there for. Like I like to use Instagram for like educational purposes. I use it for study tips and things like that. But sometimes when I go on there, since I use Instagram both for educational purposes and like my own pleasure, I look at like test taking tips, but then I look at other things that I realize I'm not even on Instagram at that moment for. So then you kind of just like forget, and then you look into all of Instagram and it's not actually helping you.
Yeah, and then an hour's gone by and you're like, what have I been doing? Wow. What kind of accounts do you go onto Instagram for study tips and educational?
I don't know that many like accounts specifically,
Yeah.
but something I really like about Instagram and TikTok recently implemented it is that when you save a post or like a video, you have like you can add it into a specific folder. So on Instagram, I have like a studying folder, which I go to specifically to if I like need to remember a studying tip or something that I forgot. And I think that also helps because then I know that I'm going into Instagram or TikTok and go straight to that folder to find the thing I was looking for. And then that helps me avoid looking at other things that I'm not actually on the app for intentionally.
I need to check that out, and I want to try I want to do an experiment with the black and white too. That's That's so cool. I can see where, you know what's funny? This is a little bit of a tangent. Does anyone ever use Craigslist for anything? It's old school, but I was just posting something on there the other day, and it's such an interesting case study because they have not changed that website since they built it. And talk about black and white and boring. But it's so interesting. I don't know how much revenue they do, but it's just one of those things where they're almost like, we don't care. Like, it's simple and basic. This is just a platform to buy and sell and connect and find jobs. And it doesn't even look pretty, and it's super functional, and I love it. It's pretty cool. I can't even believe how much I'm learning from you guys. Thank you so much. This is amazing. We'll do a recap and kind of maybe list out, maybe we'll even do a post, how ironic, on like just some bullet items, like here's some tips on, best practices to maintain your mental health. And we call it like social media sobriety. Ooh, social media sobriety. Well, speaking of using social media, I guess, are there online communities? And I know that's a very general term. It's almost being overused right now, but we could even talk about what does a community actually mean to you. But what are the online communities where you actually feel supported and like you're going into those, whether it's a room, or I don't know if anyone uses Facebook groups or different websites or places where you interact, maybe it's even gaming. Do you have places like that online that feel good to be part of?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, definitely.
What are they? I mean, you don't have to give specifics, but in general.
Nice thing to do is join some community groups, in the area that has a mission that you support, but sometimes it's time consuming because they actually do stuff. So that's something that you need to, figure out before you join, and figure out what they do and how much time, what it would take. Another thing you can do is to, join like a LinkedIn group with people in your field. For example, the groups I'm in, like, about, sport administrators and everything like that. So people post a lot of stuff every single day, and you can check out what they're doing. And at the same time, they're learning from them, which is, I think, important. And I think gaming really helps too. I like Call of Duty. I guess that's something, just joining the game lobby, play some games, maybe every day, but I'm kind of getting addicted to it, but it's fine. Probably off that later until August. But yeah, it's just something I look forward to every day. I think a community is something that you look forward to every day, and joining and basically, doing stuff with that. So that's just for me.
Thanks, Leo.
Personally for me, I just like having like group chats with people I actually know. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I only meet someone on the internet, it's not as like personal as like if I actually know them like from school or something. So I think like obviously my number one preference is just to make friends like in person and just hang out with them. But if I'm like am doing things online, like either like a FaceTime or just like a group chat with people that I know is like my preference.
Going off of that, I think, at least for me, I don't really have any online communities that I kind of identify with in terms of friends that aren't also like my best friends in person. I think the group chat thing is like that throughout my day, just kind of chatting with my friends about like day-to-day things or complaining together, laughing about funny things is the best form of, gives me the most happiness, I think, kind of just not turning our problems into like something funny, but kind of having a collective, complaint to bond over, or like laughing at funny memes online, or like making a plan to do something later. I just think that brings me the most joy, and it kind of adds a sense of like happiness and something to look forward to at the end of my day, especially because I live with all of them. But even when I'm apart, that makes the online interaction with them so much more important.
I will also just add, like, for me, I'm like really into like international relations, and I've like met some people from other countries through various programs I do. So like for that, I enjoy like using like WhatsApp or being part of that kind of group just to stay in touch with those people. But like if it's someone who lives here, like I'd rather just like make a friend here than like find some random person on the internet.
I think online for me, I know Discord is used very commonly to find like online communities. Personally, I don't like to use Discord to actually make friends because, as Sarah said, I don't really think that's as personal, and I personally don't like to text that much, so it's just not my type of vibe. But I do like to use it for more so resources, and I think joining communities with specific, like on Discord, communities with specific like goals or interests are really nice to be a part of, because you know that everyone there goes to that specific server on Discord to continue their interest, or everyone on there has a similar goal. I think this applies also in real life, because like a lot of the friends I have right now in person, I met them through sports or clubs, and making friends from like specific programs or organizations makes me more comfortable around them, because I know that we have similar goals or morals, like specifically with our fair trade campaign. I know that I can talk to the people there comfortably because we all have similar morals and we all want like well-being for workers, like things like that.
That's a really good point. Something that if there's one thing that ties us together in a group, whether it's in person or online or around the world, that is community. That's one definition of community. It's having that common thread. I talk about that in my TED Talk too. And actually I did this mental exercise before I got onto stage to do my TED Talk, because I was, as Leo said, it's like 200 people. So we had 500 people in the audience, and it was pretty scary. And I knew there was going to be a lot of strangers in the audience. So I call it the golden thread exercise. And I mentally picture this golden thread, like connecting me and every person in the room, in the audience, and that knowing there's at least one thing we all have in common. Even if we're totally different on the surface, there's always at least one thing, even if it's just we want to be here to listen to a TED Talk, or like we're interested in, new ideas. So I think that really helps to lay the foundation to start to be part of a community. And then we get to decide, is this a community we want to really invest in and spend time in and go deeper and build relationships? It also helps me just on the surface get over the nerves, or like, feeling awkward or something in a group of strangers, just to know like we all have something in common here.
Yeah, I like that idea. So like for me, when I enter like a community that I don't even know who, the people are, for the first or two sessions, I don't really talk at all, because I want to observe like what we have in common, and if I should stay in the future or not, because it's really important to pick a right start and get involved in the group with the right decision to make and the right things to do with them. So I think that's important too. Just if it's a community with a same cause, just remember that they have the same goal as you, but how to connect with them is through observation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before we run out of time, we've got about 10-12 minutes left. I do want to run a couple new ideas by you all and get your feedback, and it is tied into the topic. How many of you know what an NFT is? Everyone? Okay. Do you own any? Okay. We're working with this company. They're prototyping a new program with us. I'm pretty excited about, and it's a very low investment. So we're just kind of testing it out over the next few months, and we'll see how it goes. But the idea is like, are you part of any buying communities where you get perks like after you buy a certain amount? Like maybe it's like, for me, I'll get 9 manicures and the 10th one's free kind of thing, or like you get your coffee or tea and then you get like a punch card. Maybe Starbucks has it. I don't know if you go there. But do you know what I'm talking about? Like loyalty points that turn into maybe some sort of benefit, whether it's cash or something for free. What are
Yeah.
some, so this would be like a digital, to keep it really basic, just to start with, there's a lot of ways we can go with this, but we're starting out with just a digital loyalty program where we'll create a new QR for the can that's much more prominent, and it'll say, what is this, what's it going to scan to? And then it'll take you to this online community, which is like join us, the Cirilla Club or something like that. And you'll get collectibles. So each can will come with a collectible, which is tied to an NFT. And after you get a certain number of collectibles, then you'll get something. Maybe you'll get like a sampler pack, or maybe you'll get like a VIP coupon for a free can, or maybe something totally not even a product, like join an experience, or enter a raffle to win a trip to Rwanda, something like that. So that's what we're talking about doing, and we want to make some really fun types of collectibles that are very unique and limited and represent our brand, represent like something fun and light, and also something about like your inner power and the sun rays that are coming off of our can. So we'll be working on that the next few weeks, and I'll definitely be running some of those ideas by you just to get your feedback on the designs and how it resonates with you as we're creating them. But I just wanted to see, is that something that you think you would use or scan into, like if you saw it on a product as an example, or are you already doing that with something else?
At least for me, I think I'm all for the points. I think what this initiative is awesome. At least for me, when I shop with brands, I don't necessarily like deliberately sign up for loyalty point programs, just because there's not really one brand that I like am die hard and I want to get those benefits. But at least an example is like when I shop at Sephora or I need to buy new makeup, like every purchase you make, you get X amount of points, and then you can get like free small products in return. And I think that's just like a nice benefit that's kind of mindless, but also makes me excited when I go. But I don't think I would deliberately sign up for like a point program, just because there's not any brands that I have, at least at this point in my life, that I'm like ride or die for. But that's just a personal thing. Maybe that's different for other people.
Okay,
Yeah.
so go ahead.
I mean, they have to like the product first before they sign up for anything. So if they like it, and they want to buy more, it's a benefit for them instead of for Sabrilla, because next time they buy it, they might get like a discount or something like that can benefit them as a customer. So they have to like the product first, I believe.
For sure. Yeah. It's assumed they would already have purchased one, and they'd have, be holding the can, and they'd be like, oh, interesting. And they'd scan in and then learn more, and they'd be giving their email in exchange for, joining this community. And then eventually over time, they'd have more opportunities to engage with us. It's a way for us to directly reach our consumer, because one of the challenges of having a product-based business like this is, especially not being direct to consumer so much, even though we do some online selling, is we can get far apart. Like we have distributors, we have grocery stores, there's a lot of in between us and the consumer. And so we want to be sure that we're speaking to them and able to connect with them and like give them insider like opportunities, like if we're dropping a new flavor, or if we're playing with a new flavor and we want, hey, what do you guys think? Do you want to be the first to try it? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I really like it. I just have to say, like, personally for me, I never do those things. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of lazy. So like, I'll just buy the thing, and like that might convince me to buy the product, but it wouldn't convince me to like do the thing. Like, for example, there's this cereal I really like, and I eat it like every day for breakfast, and there's some kind of QR thing on the back. So while I'm eating the cereal, I'll like look at that and I'll be like, oh, that's so cool. But like, I'm not gonna like scan it, like, just to be honest here.
That's awesome. Thanks for your honesty. And you have time. I mean, you definitely have time if you wanted to. You could do it right there at the table, right? Every day you're looking at it. That's funny. Thomas, glad you could come back. You're very committed to this participation. I appreciate it. I know you're in the middle of travels. We were just wrapping up by talking about an idea that we're playing around with to create an NFT, like NFT collectibles that people can scan into from the back of our can to start building more of an online community and to develop more direct consumer engagement. And over time, they would collect these different tokens and then they'd get a prize or an award or something for free at the end. So we've just been talking actually with an agency in the UK that has this new technology, and they want to trial the program with us and some other brands. So I was just checking in with you guys on if you're, doing any kind of loyalty programs with brands, or if like using NFT and product development and purchasing is something that you've seen being done or that you'd be open to as a consumer. Or if like Sarah, it's just like, oh, that looks cool. It seems like this brand is like really doing some cool stuff, but I'm not actually going to utilize those functions.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think loyalty programs in general are are things which I sometimes do engage with if I really like the product or the brand. I think it's heavily tied to my perception of how much value it's adding for me. So it's less in the sort of everyday grocery type purchases and more in like specific products that you have to go out and look for. So I think in some senses, Cirilla does fit into that category. I don't think it's hard to say how big it would be because it is like still a consumable, but if it's something that people really identify with because of the mission, particularly, I think like that's areas where people might be more likely to sign up for some sort of loyalty program. NFTs is an interesting one. It's not something I know anything about. I think the word now has connotations. It's sort of gone from revolutionary to being a little bit gimmicky in my eyes. I don't know if other people agree, but I think there's potential that it might come back around again. I'd say everything in the like associated with crypto has gone now into gimmick, but maybe might come back depending on who you ask. I think it's also its association is with, when I think of NFTs, to be very reductive, the customers that I think of are not necessarily the same customers that I associate with Cirilla, but I don't know if other people feel similarly or differently. But then again, I don't really know the mechanics of like how loyalty X NFT would work and what value that would be perceiving to be adding to because it's not something that I've ever really personally engaged with.
So let me frame this related question in a different way. Maybe if you can remember the last time, and this is for anyone, if you can remember the last time you were so beyond excited about a product, like, oh my gosh, like it touches your heart. It's like, what, you become really, really passionate about this product. It could be a consumable, it could be clothing, anything. Maybe you even reached out to the brand email or social media and like actually sent them a message like, I love what you're doing, and you want to be part of it, right? You want to be somehow more deeply connected than just purchasing their product. Like you want to know more, you want to engage. What do you think that brand, maybe they actually responded in a way that encouraged you and actually gave you the tools to become part of that community or part of that brand? And if so, what did that look like? Maybe they didn't even know what to say, but what do you think a good follow-up would be for people like that from the brand perspective that could really leverage that excitement from so many people that are like, we just are so fired up about this. Where do we go from here?
I think I could give an example which might be relevant particularly to the Cirilla of a few years' time. which is there's a clothing store near me, which I have become associated with the brand because it's local, sustainably sourced, eco-friendly, and has the brand association is like a regional brand association. What they did, which I thought was like really clever, is open like cafes during the day, bars at night in local towns. So they've kind of gone vertical in a sense, and therefore that's a mailing list that I actually want to be on, because I hear about the sales, but also because I hear about when they have like events at the spaces, or they have different types of things. So it's something that I perceive to be adding value to me, not just trying to sell more product. And obviously that's difficult if you're a slightly earlier stage company to try and go vertical in that way, or to create experiences for people. But in the same sense, like Cirilla is in the business of creating experiences. So maybe it's a case of blending in the selling with local events that might be going on, or partnerships with Cirilla that people can actually go to in their local areas if and when that gets to a certain critical mass, that's actually achievable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool. I guess one thing you can also do is like, I don't know, add a discount code. Like for like, I'll say like for like $1 or $2 or free shipping or anything like that. It's just to keep them engaged with the community. Also, that's what you guys talked about, making like an online community for them to join in and talk about this kind of topic and the cause that we're supporting. I think that's a good idea too. But Sarah, I have a quick question for you. Is that that NFT thing? So are they going to get an NFT if they scan the QR code?
They'll have the option to, yeah, when they click through, they'll have different options to buy in. There's an example he gave of, well, it was another product, but they actually do have a brick and mortar. So like what Thomas was saying, you could buy their products online or maybe in stores, but then they're also encouraging people to come in and, engage with them in person and do their activities in the store. So that's another, whenever we're putting something out there on social, we always try to think of what's the call to action on this. Sometimes it's just, here's a pretty picture, this is informative, you don't have to do anything with it. But in general, it's advised to have some kind of call to action. So hopefully it's not always to buy. I mean, we don't want to always be like, here's a coupon, here's this, like, here's a new item, please buy, please buy. Like maybe every 7 touches, that's what we're doing, but it can't be every time. All right, guys, anything else jump to your mind before we close? What were your key takeaways, Julia, from today's call?
I think most importantly was the kind of list of ways to, distance yourself from the content that you see on social media, and or removing yourself from social media entirely, whether it be for a few minutes, hours, or a full day. And I also think the discussion about the different types of communities and where people feel at home online was very interesting. I jot them down because, I agree with most of them. And I think that from people who share, whether it be one or many things in common with. So I'm looking forward to kind of hearing more about that next meeting.
Thanks, Julia. Does anyone else have any clothing thoughts, closing thoughts, or announcements that you want us to share on social media? We have the Fair Trade High School press release, Leo's, the TEDx Newton event, and anything you want us to share with the community, Thomas, from the other side of the lake?
No, not right now, but I'll have a think.
Okay. I will have a blast in France, and Julia, thanks for your help organizing everything. And I appreciate everyone's time today and tonight. It's good to see you. And
Yeah,
we'll
and-
follow up. Yeah,
No, I just want to say it's really kind of you to offer to help us with our press release, and thank you. It's like
course.
very nice and considerate.
of course. Yeah. And if ever anyone needs product for anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you guys.
all.
Great to see
Talk to you
everybody.
soon.
Great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.